explicit violence in your writings?
It's what I do, is one answer. I write horror fiction. There is a kind of curiosity that we have as human beings about our life processes. One of our last life processes is death. It's a legitimate subject for curiosity. We shouldn't be ashamed that the macabre or the morbid exercises some fascination upon us. I tell it like it is. If it's there in my mind's eye, I put it on the page. And that seems to me to be a legitimate way to write.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us here on Written in Red. That is the Horror Reader and Writers podcast. We are here. All of us. Carver has joined us again. It's great to see you, brother.
Yay.
Thank you.
Back from this harvest. We missed you.
We did miss you. We did, and
I missed you too.
I know
I
that.
didn't.
Oh, come on! I know the listeners at the very least did. So it's good to have you back. We got a great show today. A very exciting interview, just from one of the most prolific author. Well, I would just call him a prolific indie author, but also within the realm of self-publishing, he's sort of a wizard at it. We're going to be talking to Matt Shaw, and of course he's also doing film stuff now, acting, directing, writing these films. There's a ton of stuff that we have to talk about, and really a lot that could definitely be gleaned from this incredible guest. But before we get into that, we have a little brief intro and just a couple housekeeping items. But first, for anyone who's new to the podcast or YouTube channel, my name is Aron Beauregard. I'm a 3-time Splatterpunk Award nominated horror author of over 16 books now. And my latest release, Modern Hysteria, is available on Amazon. I'm launching a horror store, abhorror.com, that by the time this is released will be available for you guys if you want to check out the merch, and also, of course, signed copies. And we'll talk more about Survivor's Guilt, which should be out by the time this releases as well, in just a few minutes. But Carver?
My name's Carver Pike. I'm a 2-time Splatterpunk Award nominated horror author. You're making me laugh already, man. And I notice if I sit just right, I give myself bunny ears, like rabbit ears under my.
Can you please be
handprint.
serious?
Anyways, yeah, I got to be serious. You said. All right. So yeah, I'm the 2-time Splatterpunk Award nominated horror author of Diablo Snuff series, Scalp, Grad Night, a handful of others, and my new one that I've talked a lot about on the show, that I finally have a paperback copy of Faces of Beth with the introduction by Brian Keene. I've got it here. It's beautiful. I love it, my precious. And yeah, that's about all you need to know about me.
I see the reviews are coming in, Carver, and you're getting good feedback on that too.
Yes, they are. I'm loving it, man.
Yeah, I saw a few people say that it was the best book they read all year so far.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I've had a couple like that. That's awesome, man. And I've got the paperbacks have just started coming in, so I'm going to be signing those and getting those out. And then a lot of people have just been waiting on that. So unfortunately, Amazon, takes their slow ass time getting author copies out. So I'll get those out, and then hopefully more reviews will be coming in. Can't wait.
Very nice.
Roland?
Oh, I don't know who was next.
We got silent for a second. I guess I got to call somebody out. So, Roland, I'm looking at your beautiful face up in my right hand corner.
Yes, you're right next to me. Roland Bercy Jr., author of, award winning, unlike the previous two.
Just nominated.
Daniel, not yet, none of y'all. So, award winning author of Unfortunate, Payback as a Witch. I got a couple of others, Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder, and then I'm working on 2 more that should be out later this year. And our last co-host was Daniel.
Thank
Thank you, Roland.
Who is Daniel?
Last but not least.
Why don't you just tell him to get fucked before you introduce him, huh?
Dude,
Like,
so much disrespect in this opening. It's not even funny. I don't even know what to do. Now I know how Carver feels every time we shit on him in the opening. Daniel J. Volpe, 2-time Splatterpunk Award nominated author of Talia and Left to You. My newest book, which should be out probably when this airs, is Visceral 2. It's a collection of short stories that I wrote with Patrick C. Harrison III of Death's Head Press. That should be out by then, so you guys want to check that out. Some real nasty stories, and actually Aaron did a nice introduction for that collection, so you're going to want to check that out. Like Aaron, also, I have a website that will be launching by the time this airs, danieljvolpehorror.com. You can get merch, signed books, apparel, all sorts of cool stuff on there. So check that out, and definitely looking forward to this interview with Matt Shaw. And thank you, Roland, for the segue. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna go bite an electrical cord when I'm done.
Hey, Aaron, I have a question for you. Your logo from your website, is it purposely made to look like a weird looking smiley face? Because that's what it looks like every time I see it.
It was kind of a happy accident because I created it. I actually created it myself, and then the more I looked at it, I was like, oh, it kind of looks like a creepy face. That's just how it worked out. Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it. I love a creepy face. You know, that's why I keep Dan around. But
yeah. It's going to be one of those shows. It's just fuck me. I can't wait. Matt's going to come on.
Shit on Dan Day. Finally, it's not shit on Carver Day.
Knock it off, Carver.
Carver's celebrating. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, but the tide can turn. I mean, it can change, can turn. The tides turn, they change, right?
Nobody knows, Jimmy Neutron. Just relax.
I gotta stop talking, or you guys will start shitting on me.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I thought you like pissing.
Oh, you're into piss play, are you?
Yeah. Bring on the piss.
It's called water sports. For you guys that don't know.
Bring on the bukkake.
Come on.
With that kind of
intro.
All right, so I mean, we could talk about piss and whatever, but we'll save that for Matt. Now, Carver. Yeah, Carver. I feel like you have just a mini announcement, right? Just pertaining to show appearances.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, first of all, I wanted to apologize to the authors that I have missed some of the shows for so far. And it's going to happen more often. I just wanted to kind of tell you guys that. I don't like missing shows, but, you know, with the kids all being in sports and stuff like that, so many sports right now, and so much going on in the real world, non-author related stuff going on in my life. It looks like I'm going to miss a lot more shows coming up. So I'm going to try to be here as often as possible, but there will be episodes that I will miss. So I'm just kind of letting everybody know that in advance. I don't mean to, and I do try to be here as often as possible, but I'm just kind of letting everybody know. I have missed a few already. I am still part of the team, so I'm not going anywhere, but it looks like I am going to miss quite a few, and so don't be surprised when I'm gone. But it actually seems like it helps because, as you can tell, we have been turning off our screens to allow our guests to be on film and stuff too. So I guess when I'm not here, it actually works out sometimes anyways, right? So
yeah. And I think part of it is just, you know, from a scheduling, it'd be one thing, you know, if we could do the show anytime, but that's just not the case. And because, you know, if the show was like it was for the first 25 episodes before we really started doing guests, it'd probably be easier to accommodate a proper time. But, you know, because we have to work a guest schedule on top of our 4 schedules, you know, it's a little more difficult, but that's okay. Family's the most important thing. And, you know, you're always going to be part of the team, and then we'll see you whenever we can, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll be with us in spirit.
Aaron,
you mentioned Survivor's Guilt, but you didn't tell us what that was.
So, so good timing on having Matt on the show, because Matt, Shaw, and I collaborated over the past year or so, on and off on this project, and it is it's really a deep character piece, I think. We did it. It's a perspective piece. Matt is sort of playing one of the characters, and I'm playing the other, and we're sort of seeing this story play out through each of their perspectives, and the reader kind of has to decide what they think's going to happen. And I think it's an awesome book. We're going to be doing a limited run of paperbacks and hardcovers. The 20 hardcovers have already sold out, but there are some paperbacks remaining, and then it'll be up on Kindle on Amazon for anyone else that just wants to scoop it up. It's $4.99. It's going to be released on May 4th, and this concept is sort of about two people that go into survivor's guilt meetings. They're survivors of past horrific trauma, such as like a mass shooting or a killing spree. It's a real life thing, that some people deal with. But these two people aren't in there for the same reasons as the rest of the other people that are. And we find out that it's some pretty depraved shit going on. And it was just a great honor to work with Matt, considering all that he's done. And it was very easy, It was an easy project. We're going to talk more about it soon when Matt gets on, but definitely check it out. I think it's going to be a surprising piece to a lot of people, sort of the way it's presented.
Where can you get this limited edition paperbacks and everything?
It's going to be at the Indiegogo campaign. So if you go into the Written and Read discussion room on Facebook, or if you just, you can feel free to message me on social media. I'm also going to try to get a link maybe on my website. It should be up by now, so hopefully there'll be a link there if there's any remaining by the time this happens. But yeah, so we got an awesome show coming up. We're going to talk to Matt Shaw in just a moment. So remember, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. That really helps us out. And also subscribe to iTunes and Spotify, if you want that podcast audio regularly. We have some incredible other guests coming up. I'm hoping to, we'll be able to put together a schedule very soon. I think we need to do that together. But we know some of the names on the list, and it's going to be really cool. But I think, guys, are you good if we move right into the interview now?
Let's go for it.
Yeah, and speaking of moving into the interview, since I'm back from not being here, it's a good idea that we just shit on me again right away, and I turn my screen off.
Okay. We'll try
No, I volunteered to turn my screen off because the rest of you guys have all worked with Matt in some way or another, right? I think. Mm-hmm. Haven't you all been in weren't you in his anthology or something?
Yeah.
Roland, Daniel, you weren't?
No.
No, so we're just shitting on me just to shit on me.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to miss your pretty face, Carver.
Daniel, we've talked about this actually in one other episode, I think, before. You and I are the only ones that haven't worked with them, I guess, right?
No, I haven't worked with them yet.
Okay, for some reason I thought you did too.
Fuck you, Roland.
So, yeah, but Dan was he volunteered last time to turn his screen off, so I'm going to volunteer this time to have my screen off so that you guys can see Matt's pretty face and during the interview and hang out with him for a bit. So I will be here, you just won't see me.
All right.
All right, let's get ready then for the phenomenal extreme horror author, Matt Shaw! All right, thank you everybody for joining us on Written and Read. That is the horror reader and writers podcast for our interview segment. An incredible interview. We are flabbergasted to be graced with the presence of this author. He's written over 300 works from what IMDb said, 10 feature or short films with 7. I think there was like 7 others that you have in the works on there too. Pretty much a jack of all trades in that film stuff. His work's been translated to Japanese, Korean, German, French, and adapted to graphic novels. And now it's Matt Shaw, everyone. Matt Shaw.
It's match off.
Yes.
Thank you. And before we move on, the Japanese and the Koreans are bastards because they've never paid me.
Oh.
Thanks, Aaron.
My work is at least in their country, but they've never paid me. So.
Oh, wow.
I don't mean to bring up a sore spot to kick off the show.
That's a good intro. It's really, really solid.
We just lost all of our Japanese and Korean listeners.
all seven of them, huh?
If you're Japanese and you're Korean, we'll put a link to my PayPal. You fuckers owe me some money.
And I mean, additionally, now, I mean, to that long list of accomplishments, you can now add that you've worked with Aron Beauregard. I mean, out of all those, what do you think might be the greatest accomplishment? I mean, you could be honest. I won't be upset.
Well, I don't know. I mean, working with Aron was pretty special because she's a tasty girl. You know, I hope one day you guys get to meet her.
I don't know. I heard she had diseases.
I almost spit out my water.
But yeah, you
penicillin that'll cure that up.
Yeah, diseases are like Pokemon. You got to catch them all. Otherwise, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, you get him, and he's got them all, so you're all set.
Well, if you get enough of them, they battle against each other and cancel each other out, and then you're actually like a impregnable human. You know,
it's true.
Health wise,
it's how we got over AIDS.
Yeah. All right, before we get the YouTube channel closed down here, but no, seriously, Matt, we're fucking stoked to have you, dude. Thank you. We know you're busy.
Yeah, thanks for asking me. Took you fucking enough.
Well, I wanted to make sure I got something out of it, you know.
Yeah. So if I said no to the book, I wouldn't be here today, right? You'd be like, we're not doing an interview with that son of a bitch. He turned me down.
No, but seriously, like, as you know, this is I think you know, this is sort of a podcast to help people grow, hopefully, that listen to it, and also to spotlight authors. And I think that your work and career is, there's probably no one we'd rather have on than you for what we're trying to do on this show, just because of all that you've done. So I was thinking maybe we could go back to the beginning a little bit. Before we get into talking about the current books and stuff, can you tell us a little bit about just how you started out and, I mean, how you've grown to be the monster that you are today?
Do you remember this conversation we had this morning? You were like, hey, we had loads of cool questions for you. And I was like, mate, I don't remember what I had for breakfast. So, yeah, it's going to be a very short chat. But no, I started because I used to have anger issues as a kid. And, you know, I think that's fairly obvious from when you're reading my work. But I used to get myself in all sorts of trouble. And I ended up seeing a psychiatrist who wanted me to write a mood journal. I don't know whether any of you have ever had to write such a fucking thing. But basically, you write down how your day's going. So, you know, today I had a bad day because the bus driver looked at me funny, so I wanted to cut him. It really is that kind of thing that you have to write. And I thought, I'm not doing, he says, playing with scissors. So I thought, I'm not doing this because I don't agree with it. And instead, I sat down and I kind of write an autobiography, and I actually released it in the end. And it, you know, it's called I'm Fine. But I wanted to try and pinpoint where my life went wrong. You know, why was I such an asshole? And I enjoyed the writing process so much that I decided to turn all my old screenplays that I did when I was like 15 years old, I turned them into novellas and novels. Because at the time, I don't know how new to writing you guys are. Do you know of a site called Autonomy?
I don't
know. No, it was way before Amazon Kindle came around. And on this website, we just put our work up. So it wasn't, you know, you didn't charge anyone for it. And people would come and they'd critique it, give you feedback, whether it's positive or negative, and help you grow as a writer. And it was a really nice community. You know, we're going back, you know, years. It was before the internet just turned to a haven of cunts. You know, people were helpful back in the day. And yeah, so I enjoyed the process and just carried on writing it through Autonomy, and eventually self-releasing paperbacks through a company called Lulu, who's still going today. And then, hey presto, Amazon Kindle popped up out of nowhere.
That sounds kind of like that site. I think it was called Trigger Street for screenplays. Do you remember that one?
I don't know that one.
I think it was kind of the same type of thing. You'd put your work up and people would criticize it, and you'd read it for free, basically. And
yeah, are they still going today?
They changed the name of it, and I think it's gone down at some point. And Amazon tried something very similar. You know, Amazon kind of copies pretty much everything else that's out there, tries their hand at everything. So
yeah, and some things they're good at, and some things they're not so good at. But no, Autonomy was good because it was owned by a branch of HarperCollins, I believe, and there was always the dangled carrot in front of the people submitting the work, where if the right person saw it, you're going to get a publishing contract through Harper. So that was kind of a way of keeping people to keep putting their work on there for free. But God, nowadays, can you imagine putting your work anywhere for free? Fuck that.
Yeah. Hey Matt, do you know, like, so you started on, is it called Autonomy? Is that what's the name of it?
Yeah. I think that's how you pronounce it, but yeah, sounds similar.
So after that was like, what was the first thing that you published where you actually started getting paid for it, if you can remember that?
Something called A Sperm's Tale. It was actually a cartoon book, was where I first started making my money. Just single page cartoons of like I drew a sperm dressed as a Taliban getting ready to blow the egg up, you know. Or a sperm with a mask on and a blowtorch trying to get into the egg. And it was just a book full of these things. Oh, wow. And that's the very first thing I ever sold. And then I'm Fine, I was sold as paperback, but back in the day it used to be called The Autobiography of a Nobody. So I used to make money off that as well before I redid it for Kindle.
Awesome.
Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, was because I thought I saw you post about the cover for Sick Bastards some time ago, as because somebody had made a comment about sort of, you know, how your covers are. We talked about your covers before, and that the simplicity of them and the darkness of them was very eye-catching, but this person was sort of critiquing it, and then you know, I used to watch the posts that you did to kind of learn more about your process, and you were talking about how much you sold from that, and that kind of launched your career. Is that accurate? Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember that guy's name on the forum, but what a cock. You know, in life, there's lots of things we don't like. You don't have to point out what you don't like.
Yeah.
You know, just fuck off. But yeah, this guy, he decided to, you know, it was a cheap marketing gimmick. It was this, it was that, and he just proper went off on the cover. And yeah, I explained to him that actually the cover came about because I didn't think the book was going to do very well. I wrote it to upset Graham Reynolds of Horrific Tales Publishing, because he was getting ready to publish one of my books. And in the end, that didn't happen. But, you know, I'm good friends with Graham. He's a good guy. But when he was reading the book he was going to publish, he was like, oh, excuse me a minute, I'm going to go and read a bit more of Sick Bastards. And I thought, oh, I quite like that as a title. And I wrote first 10 pages of Sick Bastards, where I don't know whether you guys know it, but you got a young couple having dirty sex. The door swings open, old woman comes in. It's like, for fuck's sake, put your sister down, dinner's on the table. Dinner on the table, there's a guy there strapped in, screaming while the dad's carving him up. And I was like, I'm really enjoying writing this. So I carried it on going. And it got to the point of I need to release it. But I didn't want to spend any money on a cover. And I had just been to the English equivalent of Barnes & Noble, a shop called Waterstones. And I saw a book. Do you know the author Irvine Welsh?
Yeah, Filth.
Yeah, Train Spotting.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of his books have been republished with single colour covers. and just the name of the title in another color, and it really stood out as you're walking through Waterstones. So I thought, well, fuck it, I'll just do a black cover, white title, and because I know the world is full of snowflakes these days, I'll put a warning on it. And yeah, I released it expecting nothing. The next thing I know, I've created a brand, and it was soon after releasing Sick Bastards, I literally quit work, and I haven't done a day's work since.
That's awesome. What's funny is about Sick Bastards, my father actually read it, and he's the one that actually turned me on to it, because he's like, I read this fucking disgusting book on Kindle, and he's like, you gotta read it. It's fucking gross. Like, it starts off with like this incestual family and his brother and sister fucking each other. And I'm like, what are you reading? First of all, this is fucking, out of bounds here. And then I went online and I downloaded it, and I was like, damn, this is some shit right here. So it was actually one of the, not the first extreme thing I ever read, but it was definitely close. Because I think the first thing I ever read that was really extreme was The Pig by Edward Lee, but Sick Bastards was right up there.
It's weird because I hear this from quite a lot of people, and they say, oh, this is like the first extreme horror I've ever read. And I'm like, where have you guys been? Because as you just mentioned, Ed Lee, he's been writing years. Wrath James White. He got so many authors that have been writing this kind of content way before I came along. Yet suddenly Sick Bastards is one that magically seemed to land in people's laps. Don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for that, and I'm always grateful for my readers. But it's just, how come, there's other authors out there that are much better with extreme horror, who should have had a lot more recognition than what they get. And even today, some of these authors, they're still not getting the recognition they deserve. And it's weird how certain authors, sort of go up and sort of stay lucky. It's just, I don't know, it's just a really hard industry.
I think it was probably around the time when the Kindle started becoming really big. And I know you had your stuff out on there. So I think it was probably one of those like 99-cent books at the time, or maybe it was a discounted, or my dad just found it and maybe liked the cover. So for whatever reason, he only got it on Kindle. And I think that just because it was a new, medium to read things through, that he was just like, you know what, I'm going to try this, because we grew up in like a horror family, and I always grew up reading, like Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Clive Barker, some of that stuff. But, it wasn't until I found, and even when I read The Pig, I think The Pig was on Kindle. I think I ended up getting it. It was like another, not a BookBub deal, but it was a cheaper 99-cent deal. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick this up. The cover was pretty cool looking, and I'm like, I read it, and I was like, holy shit! Like, I didn't know people could do this. I didn't know you could write like this. That was okay. And then when my dad told me about your book, I was like, oh fuck, I gotta read this too. And then I'm down a dark path of depravity.
And now look where you are.
Yeah, look at me now. I'm in a basement surrounded by fucking dolls. It's great.
Just tell me you don't live with your mum.
No, I don't. I live with my children.
I live with this mom.
It's just, if the moment you go, yeah, now look at me, I'm in my basement. I'm like, please don't say you live with your mum.
Yeah.
I hack people up in my trailer. And...
No, she's my. I live with my roommate. She just gave birth to me, but that's it. Like, we're roommates. She pays rent.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Totally different.
So Matt, if I looked at that Amazon published date for Sick Bastards earlier today, it was January of 2014. Is that like really the first major one that you published? I know you said you were making a little money off of that before, off of other things before, but
I was making. I would fuck me, you guys are dollars. Before Sick Bastards came along, I was probably making anywhere between $200 to $500 a month through my writing, and I had a lot of books out by then, so. Some people would be like, oh, I'd love to get that sort of money each month. But that was spread over a lot of books. But yeah, Sick Bastards is the one. When the sales figures started coming in, because you check on Amazon and you see the charts, I was like, holy shit. So yeah, that was a good day when that started coming in.
It's a crazy feeling. And if this was if Sick Bastards was published in 2014, we're now in 2022. That's 8 agonizing years of Matt Shaw publications on Amazon, and I think just to celebrate that incredible feat, I wanted to do some math real quick because I looked at your good.
I'm not very good at it.
I'm not a numbers guy. All right, let me just start with that. I'm not a numbers guy, but I looked at your Goodreads profile and it said that there were 437 distinct works that were listed. If we multiply the 8 number of years by 12, the number of months in each year, it's your favorite number backwards, Matt. It's 96. And now I'm gonna blow the listeners' minds here, because that if we fucking divide that shit, that means that you've published 4.55, if you round up 5 things a month since that point. Or you've been involved in a project that has released one of your stories or something of that nature, which is just fucking insane.
I think Goodreads is taking stuff, it was before 2014. That's when Sick Bastards was published. But there were obviously books before Sick Bastards, like Clown, Smile, Happy Ever After set of books. So there was a fair bit before then. But no, I have no life.
I was going to ask Matt about that. So you have so much stuff out there. Do you have a way that you keep track of all this? Like, do you have some kind of organizational board, or is it just all up here? Because if it's all up here, can I have your baby? That's impressive. I'm not, honestly, it's just impressive.
Do you mean is my past work up here?
Just everything, like what you. Well, I guess move your future stuff. Like, do you have like some kind of board that you keep, or some kind of book that you keep, like saying I'm working on this and this is next. This I have an idea for this, so forth and so on.
No, most of the time it's just in my noggin. I mean, what I do is I keep a notepad. And if I have a random idea, like as you guys know, I was away recently, and I'm having dinner with everyone, and it's quite a nice dinner, and these people are boring the shit out of me, so my mind drifted off, and I suddenly thought of the phrase "foo-foo phlegm," foo-foo being another word for the vagina, and I was just like, "Fuck me, that's a great title." So in my notebook, I just wrote "foo-foo phlegm." So then later I'll pick the notebook up and I'll flick through it and I'll be like, foo-foo phlegm, oh, I really like that. Then I'll go with the story.
Wow.
Then I'll literally just sit down and write it. And it's very rare that I'll make any notes when I'm writing stuff. The only thing I make sure to do, once I've got the story in my head, I'll start writing it. And at the end of my writing day, I'll bullet point everything that's coming next. So the next chapter. And so that way, when I sit down the next day, I know exactly what I need to write, because there's nothing worse than writing everything that you'd planned and then having to start the next day with nothing but a blank sheet. That's how writer's block comes about. That's when you're like, fuck, where do I go now?
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of the authors that maybe listen to the show that are wondering, what's the secret to success? I think consistency is one of the biggest things. And I mean, you are so incredibly consistent. I mean, I was literally looking at your Amazon page and like, I was ready to give up. Like my finger was getting tired clicking through all the fucking releases, dude. Like, it's just crazy. Like, like I say, I don't have a life, so people are like, "Well, how do you write that?" And they think that it's easy, but I sacrifice an awful lot. This isn't woe is me, I'm having great fun, but I literally sit at a computer every fucking day, and I'm just writing for hours on end. Like today, I started work at 6 o'clock this morning, and didn't stop. I stopped to sign some books because I had a big delivery show up. Then I went and done some film notes, but then I went back to writing. So, the titles,
if you're able to put that time in, those titles will soon rack up. Well, you know, because you release shitloads of books as well.
Yeah, and I think the consistency has really been beneficial, and Dan's been very consistent too, and Carver, and you know, Roland's getting there too. You're starting to roll out releases, and it's like I really do think that
he's a bit slower though, you know. Roland needs to.
He's got all those underwear modeling gigs he's been doing, so it's, you know,
got to make the money somehow.
Yeah.
I would join his fans. Yeah.
Matt, you must have a hell of a time remembering shit from like across. I have a few pen names and stuff, and across my pen names, I probably only have 30 something books. And people will bring up shit that I've written in the past or character names and stuff, and half the time I can't even remember writing stuff or a character name and stuff like that. So I can't even imagine with all those fucking books and projects and stuff that you've worked on, you know, people must bring up shit to you all the time, and you're like, fuck, I don't even remember writing. That has to happen to you too.
All the time. The trick is to mumble the answer and then quickly ask, how are you? Just divert all the time. Like someone came up to me the other day and they're like, can you explain the ending of such and such? And I genuinely turned around to them and I said, honestly, I don't even know what book you're talking about, because I didn't. They said the title, and even the title didn't ring a bell. I was like, is it one of mine? Because that's happened before. Someone's been like, oh man, I love the book Sam. I'm like, well, yeah, brilliant, but Ian Rob Wright wrote that. There's nothing to do with me, but I'm glad you told me you loved it. Thanks. Fuck off.
So I get another question. This might be jumping into another subject too fast, but how did you go from Matt from writing to like producing and making movies? Like, what was the first book that you wrote that turned into a movie? If you remember.
I actually wanted to make movies from a little kid. That's where my passion is. It was never writing books. I fell into that career. Which I know is going to piss off a lot of people that are trying to get into that career. You know, yeah, I didn't really want it, it just happened. They're like, son of a bitch. With films, I'm good friends with a guy called Michael Bray. And there was another author at the time saying, oh my God, I've got some massive, massive book news coming up. I'll share it with you by the end of the week. And Michael and I were talking, and we were like, if this motherfucker's saying he's got a film deal, we're going to go postal. We're going to kill someone. And then we just got, why don't we just make our own film? I've always wanted to direct. It can't be that hard. So we did a crowdfunder where it was all or nothing. And Michael wanted to make the book Art into our first film. But I steered us towards Monster because it was less characters, less locations, and just easier to turn into a feature. So that really is how that came to be. You know, making movies is we just wanted to beat another author to it. It's that petty.
I saw Monster and it was really good, and then I recently saw Box, which was even better. I really enjoyed Box.
I'm glad you said it was better, because obviously I know our films are far from perfect, but if each film can be slightly better than the last film, then we're on the right track. Now, what isn't public knowledge, so this is an exclusive, is I'm actually quitting the film industry next year if our next film doesn't do well. Like if we don't sell it to a proper distributor, I'm going to sell all of the equipment and just stop making films. I hope it doesn't come to that, but, you know, we need to draw a line in the sand. You know, I'm losing a lot of money with films.
I can imagine it takes a lot of your time too. So
time's not, you know, I love making them, but like, put it this way, this week I spent £2,500 of money that I do not have just to buy some equipment I need to do a few shots.
Wow.
And I sat down and I worked out how much I've spent on film equipment in the last 4 years, and I nearly had a fucking heart attack. So I was thinking, right, the next film we're doing in January, I'm writing specifically for the screen. So it's not based on a book, but it is a mainstream haunted house film. if we cannot sell one of the most popular genres of today, then we're not in the right business. So we need to be men about it and just be like, enough is enough. We tried. It wasn't for us.
Well, but also,
I got my fingers crossed for you, because Box was excellent, and I mean the production of it. It was, to me, it was professionally done. I thought it was excellent. So fingers crossed that this haunted house gig works out for you as well as you wanted to.
Well, I'm glad you said that about Box, because we get people talking about things, and our films are never expensive. Like Box, that cost us £2,500 to make, and to do a feature film for that sort of money is just why I released the complete beginner's guide to making affordable feature films, available now on Amazon. There you go. So,
award-winning smile.
But Matt, that's kind of a good, you're, like you said, you're drawing a line in the sand. It's not like you didn't make films, right? You've got to do your dream regardless of if it worked out or not. But it's also not to say that, maybe someone doesn't approach you on your other work, and then it's like a little more out of your hands and you're not investing so much. Are you still open to that sort of thing, or are you
no, of course, yeah. Like, I'd love someone to come and go, hey, Matt, we're going to make Sick Bastards. I've been trying to get Sick Bastards off the ground ever since I wrote it. And when it first came out, a big film company got in touch and bought the rights. And I was like, oh, shit, this is it. And then the rights reverted back to me. I'm friends with the author Adam Neville. I mean, I hope to fucking God you guys know him. But he's had, two of his films turned over into books. Two of his books turned into films now. So he's had The Ritual and No One Gets Out Alive, and that was just through Andy Serkis's production company. I would love a deal like that. I told Adam, I think you're a son of a bitch. I'm so jealous of him. But at the same time, he's like one of the nicest guys you could meet. So I'm kind of happy for him at the same time. I feel really conflicted about it.
Yeah, the Ritual was awesome. They did a good job with his films too. Those came out tremendous. So
yeah, I mean, I preferred The Ritual to the second film, No One Gets Out Alive, but I still enjoyed it. And in today's horror films, I turn a lot of films off. But these two actually stayed. But the creature design for The Ritual, absolutely fantastic.
Freaked me out for sure.
Yeah, it definitely had a very atmospheric feel in that movie, and in the book as well. Because if you've ever been in the woods, especially if you've been lost in the woods, like, they captured it very well in the film, and just I thought it was a good translation. Matt, I have a question for you. Going to film, would you be open to doing other people's works? Like, if somebody came to you and said, Matt, I want to hire you, here is a script, could you do this and make this into like a 30-minute film? Or is that something that you wouldn't have any interest in doing?
I wouldn't do a 30-minute film because there's no money to be made in it. It would have to be a feature film. But so far, I spent more time writing for other people. And if you follow my work, there's a serial killer in one of my books called Peter Jenkins. He has an IMDb page as a screenwriter, because if I don't like the idea behind the film, I'll still write the script for it, but I don't want my name on it. So I give them the name Peter Jenkins. But yeah, I'm happy to write for other people. If someone was like, I want you to direct it, I'm happy to do that. The only time I would ever back away from something is because, and I get this asked of me quite a lot, if I give you this story, can you make it into a film? And that means I have to go and raise the funds for it. I have to do all the work for it. That I don't do, because Purgatory Pictures is formed of myself and my business partner, another author called J.R. Park. So we're both writers. If we're going to make feature films, we can either write our own or adapt our own work. But as an example, Dan, if you were like, Matt, I've got X amount of money, I need to make this film, can you direct it? Yeah, piece of piss.
Now, where can we get your films? Because I've seen like the trailers and stuff, and you making them on your posts and social media, but I've never actually been able to. I don't know where they are. I mean, I probably haven't looked hard enough, but I just don't know where to find them. So where can we find
mainly Amazon. Amazon's the easiest place, but like Box is released on loads of weird websites. There's one, I think you guys have got it over there. It's not over here. Tubi.
Yep, Tubi. Yep,
Yeah.
that's free too.
So, so Box is on that. Do you know Popsy on Plex? I think it just goes by the name of Plex. It's another free one, so adverts would occasionally pop up. But I watched Box on there just to see how it would work, and 2 adverts came up. So I was like, okay, well, that's pretty good for the viewers because they watch the film for free. I still get paid, although it's pennies. But yeah, mainly Amazon.
that is Amazon Prime, or would we order like DVDs or Blu-rays?
Not Blu-rays or DVDs. We're actually coming away from that market because it's such an investment. Like in this country, I don't know whether it's the same in America, but in this country, we need something called a BBFC certificate. And that's a couple of £1,000 just to get an age rating on the film. And it's illegal to sell physical media without a BBFC certificate. So yeah, on Amazon Prime, but the films aren't normally part of Prime, if you're subscribed, so you still have to pay a normal fee to rent it. You can't watch it for free on Amazon. We did do that once, but it worked out like we were getting, if you watched all of Monster, for example, we would get like 4 cents, and you're like, yeah, fuck that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that, but now I know where they are, so that's good to know. Now our viewers will also know. Hopefully they can go check them out because I know I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, if you, not that I want to stop people watching the films or anything, but, they are low budget films. We are learning as we go. I think they're definitely getting better. The problem we're going to have now is we've just finished Chained, which I'm flying into Seattle in a few weeks to premiere it. And I think we're going to get a lot of complaints about it. And then The Call, which is in post-production at the moment, we're really struggling with because I think I'm going to get banned on Amazon if I release that film. Because I got really creative with a certain shot, and I just think there's no way we're going to get away with it. So we'll have to see what happens.
Sounds like a must-see.
Yeah, we need a director's cut.
Yeah, we need that director's cut.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. The guy is torturing a woman in it, and he's got he's already. Have I got it here? No, he's already used a hammer. So he's turned the hammer, so it's the claw end, and he's stuck it in her cunt. And he pulled it out, and then he's got this sex toy with loads of nails in it, and he pushes it inside of her. And it looked all right on camera, but I thought this is missing something. So I went to the Home Depot store and I bought a gutter tube. And I went to the supermarket and I bought some mincemeat. And I put it in there and patted it all down. And I added some shampoo conditioner so it looked like really moist. And then we filmed it with a 100mm camera on it, so super close up. And you watch the sex toy come in and scrape the mince off the side. And when you put that shot with, after seeing it go inside of her, it's fucking brutal.
Oh,
and I'm like,
Oh man,
we're not going to get away with this.
Sounds like the next Disney classic.
Right.
Well, Disney released Pulp Fiction, so you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, the Disney Plus now is R-rated shit.
All right.
Yeah, I watched Pam and Tommy, or Tommy and Pam. Fucking loved it. Who doesn't love a talking penis in a TV show? Great.
It's like a talking dog. Like everything is better with it.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's why we have Carver.
Carver. So jumping back to your books, I know I veered off when we jumped into movies, but I'm curious to know, of all of the books that you've written, what do you think is your most extreme, over the top one?
I released 3 books in hardback, in special edition hardbacks, and they were Sick, Chatterbait's Castrations, and Something Inside. And I think it's probably going to be one of those that's the most extreme. I did take them to conventions with me once in a while, but I started getting complaints.
Yeah.
So I had to stop with it.
Those are the ones with the crazy covers, right? Like they're very graphic and gory. I think I saw them on your Etsy page. That's why. Did you have them on Etsy?
Yeah. Will we get away with showing it on here? Because I think I've got them here.
Fuck it. Let's go for it.
For sure.
Hang on, 2 seconds. I'm sure. There it is.
Yeah, somebody would have to watch through to this point and look in that one corner to see it. So.
Yeah, fuck them. Yeah, so you got Sick. With, nice ratty vagina. Everyone loves that.
Yeah.
Something Inside.
Oh, shit.
Because the guy's banging the prostitute and he has a heart attack and dies, so his spirit moves inside of her vagina. And then when the next client goes down on her, he's like, hello. And then
Roland's like,
favorite,
so excited.
Chatterbait's castrations.
Oh man. Okay, yeah.
So
you
yeah,
probably have to blur some of that out, Aaron. But are those still available on Etsy?
Those are available on Etsy. You can get them on Amazon, just not with those covers.
No, I want those covers.
Yeah, what fun is that without the covers?
I know, right?
Roland wants the fucking scratch and sniff version.
Well, they all smell like fish anyway. That's what I've been told.
Do you know, my German publisher, he released one of Carlton Mellick's books. I think it was something about cannibals in Candyland or something like that. He had a scratch and sniff cover.
Oh, that'd be badass.
No way.
If I could do that with a fucking vagina on the cover, or a dirty arsehole, so you'd be like, oh. I fucking love to do that.
If you need any help,
They can come with bubble gum, like the old fucking baseball cards and shit. Shit-tasting bubble gum.
Yeah.
If you need any help, like harnessing the scents, just let me know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll give you Aaron's beard trimmings.
The foo-foo, which scent are we talking, Aaron?
You can get them both on his beard, so you're in luck.
Did you commission an artist to render those, or because I know you create a lot of your own stuff. Do you do any artwork like that too? Or
no, Michael Bray did them for me.
Oh, wow.
I was like, Michael, I need you to make me a cover. And he's like, oh yeah, what are we doing? I was like, well, today I want a vagina with a rat in it. And he delivered.
That is awesome. So does he do general commissions, or did he just do that for you?
No, I believe Michael does do commissions. He works full time, so I don't know how much time he's got for covers these days, because I know him and this other guy are writing scripts now as well. So obviously with family, work, scripts, his own writing, I don't know how much time he's got, but I believe that he is still open for covers.
Okay, cool. Duly noted. Before we get to talk about our collaboration a little bit, let's talk about your upcoming serialized release, The Killer Confession. Could you talk about that a little bit? I know you have the Indiegogo up, which we're going to share in the Written in Red room again. So if anybody's interested, you could check it out there. But yeah, tell us a little about it.
Well, before we get to that, I'm already getting complaints on the Indiegogo. And you're just like, because we've sold out of the hardback.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
no more hardback. And people are like, we'll release some more. I'm like, I don't think you understand limited edition. No, I can't release any more. But yeah, the Killer Confession. There was another author, Amy Cross. She was on the Amazon charts, and she had released a serialized story, and it fucked me off so much because it was all the way down the charts. And I thought, you sneaky bitch. So I was like, okay, I can do this as well. But because I didn't want to be seen as copying her, although I don't care that I am. She's not the first person to do a serialized story. Look, Stephen King did it with Green Mile. But I didn't want to clash with her, so that's why I'm releasing it next year. So it starts in January and it runs through so far to April. I'm just about to start the 8th part of it, but it's a head fuck of a story, because the first part follows this guy that takes a kid from his school because he's lonely and he wants to be friends with this kid. So he's not doing anything creepy other than kidnapping, but he's playing Scalextrics with him, And then the story suddenly twists and we're following the kid and we realize that the kid is actually really fucked up. He gets home, and now the next set of books follow his sister as she deals with some of the stuff that her brother's done. So each set is like a new story arc. But where you have a novel and all these story arcs are in the one novel and you've got to follow the whole thing all the way through the book, this tells the story separately. So each book is kind of a standalone, but you'll get the most of it if you read them all.
Nice.
And it's fun.
What's the word count on this?
This is just it. I wrote parts 1 to 7 in 5 days, and it's 63,000 words.
Wow.
And it really doesn't feel like that when you're writing it, because you're thinking, right, well, this is the story I'm telling now, and it just feels like you're writing a short story. But then by the time you've put it all together, you're like, well, fuck, this is probably my longest work yet. It's certainly the most complicated work I've ever done. So I'm quite excited, because obviously on the Indigo, if they back it, they're getting it in September when our book comes to paperback and hardback, because I figured I might as well just post it all at the same bloody time. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. Can you tell?
Yeah, I like the design of it too. It looks really slick. So, and just a reminder to anyone who's listening, any of our listeners, be sure to check out the group to reserve your. Are you doing a hardback volume of all of them? Is that for the Indiegogo, right?
Paperback will be the whole collection.
Okay.
So far it is 400 odd pages, but I don't know where the story's going to end yet, and because I'm not releasing it for ages, I can technically write all the way up until start of August at a push before I have to really decide, this is it now. So it could be 2 hardbacks, it could be 2 paperbacks by the time you finished it, because obviously you've only got X amount of pages per book. But yeah, I'm saying this is a fun project, and as long as it does well on Kindle, I probably would do more like this in the future.
Absolutely. And just as a reminder too, right? We're gonna be in New York. Let me see. I just want to double check the date. It was
8th.
The 8th, right? September 8th. So that goes for both things. What we're about to talk about, Survivor's Guilt, and then of course all the Killer Confessions stuff. If you purchase those perks, now they can show up to meet you if they purchase any of those perks, right?
Yeah, I'm already doing a meet and this is the fucking kicker of it. I was doing a meet and greet in New York because I put this thing up and said, hey, who wants to meet up? I'm going to do a campaign and I'm going to write a book called Meet. And you guys, if you back it, you're going to be a character in it. You get a copy of the book, but we hang out and we do touristy shit together. So it's not like a normal match at a convention track behind a table. We're literally going to fuck around. We're going to go Statue of Liberty. We're going to go watch a show. We're going to do whatever these people want to do. They're more than welcome to come with me. And I just thought it's something new to do. And most people could get to Ohio. And looking at it, I was like, oh, well, some people said they wanted to meet me in New York. And I fly into JFK and they'll change flights and then go off to Ohio. So I thought, well, fuck it. I'll get a hotel in New York and meet people there. So that's what I booked, and no one has decided to come to New York. So I'm literally got 3 days in New York by myself in a hotel I can't afford with no idea what to do.
Well, yo.
So I'm glad you said you were coming down.
Yeah, I couldn't miss you, dude. Especially if you're on the East Coast, I got to come and say hi. I appreciate you agreeing to do this project with me. It was a humbling experience that you accepted it, and
it should be.
You know,
busy me.
I'll suck your dick later. You know what I mean? But
again,
he gets jealous.
Yes.
No, but
I live in New York, so hopefully I'll be able to come up. I'm only like 2 hours from the city.
Wait, did somebody invite you?
I'm inviting myself.
I'm trying to get another author. I'm trying to get another author to come down, but he's not a very good author and he's not very well known.
You can just say my name. It's all right.
No, he's Canadian.
Oh.
But he wrote this little book called Womb that no one gives a fuck about.
Yeah, that didn't just go viral.
Duncan Rilston or something. I don't know, something like that.
David or something. I think it's David.
Every time I talk to him, he just apologizes to me and then says he's going to go get some maple syrup. It's very fucking weird having conversations with him. But no, he said he may fly in. So I'll talk to him closer to the time and go, you really need to come, because that would be great if he comes as well. And we'll just have a fucking free-for-all down there, because we've only got a few books to sign between us. And I'm presuming you're not going to just rush off.
No, I'm hanging out for sure, dude. I'm hanging out.
Yeah,
I'll bring the heroin. What's that?
No, I don't do drugs anymore.
I'm just kidding.
So is he.
Yeah. No, but Dan, maybe I'll come. Maybe we'll take the train in too, because I fucking hate driving there. That's the only thing. But
yeah, because it's right on Times Square. That would be a bitch to drive into.
Yeah, no. We could meet up somewhere, and if you want to come closer to where I am, we can take the train right into Grand Central.
Yeah, that'll be cool though. Extreme horror, brigade, just walking around New York.
I think I'm around the corner from Grand Central as well.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I think it's like walking distance to the hotel from there. And
yeah,
you're going
to
to
drive to the city.
Books with you.
I fucking hate the city, so the train is much, much easier.
But all right. So we're definitely gonna have fun, and then whoever wants to meet up, make sure you go to the Indiegogo and reserve at least one of the perks so we can say hi in person. We still got.
I am. I just got to specify one thing. I don't want to be a dick about this, but and I know this sounds really cunty, but I'm not meeting people unless they have backed one of these perks on this particular trip. Normally I wouldn't care, but I've got people that are paying. They've bought books to hang out with me, so my time is going to be dedicated to these guys, obviously. So if you just rock up and you haven't supported this in any way, I'll say hi, but I my time is going to be dedicated to the people that have supported this particular project. And I know, like I said, I know that sounds like a real cunt move, but I don't want the other people to feel ripped off.
Yeah, that's only fair.
Yeah, so that's fair. And I think, I think it's going to be good. Now, Survivors Guild, I think there's still probably like 80 paperbacks that are available for reservation right around there. So that link will also be available. What's that?
It took me an hour and fucking months to write, and no one wants it in paperback. But that's fine, it's just our livelihood. Don't worry about it. There's probably better books out there.
Yeah. So no, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was thinking, because we're doing it in paperback and hardback, and we don't actually have to do the final file for a little while, we could also put an alternate ending in there. So if we get over, halfway with people pledging for it and we've nearly sold out of them, or at least sold over half of them, we could put the alternate ending in there that we were talking about.
Yeah, there's you guys. For whoever ends up reading the intro, And if you buy it on ebook, you could read the intro. We talk a little bit about that and some of the controversial nature of the story, and some ideas that we did have. And like you said, Matt, you know, there were certain things that we were going to go certain places that might not have been the smartest places to go, especially based on what you've been through. You kind of talk about that a little bit. Do you want to? Are you comfortable talking about that at all, or like you're banning, or?
Yeah, don't give a shit, man. Yeah, I keep getting banned on Amazon. So you know, when Aaron gave this idea, and we didn't really have much of a story at the time, just a rough outline of what we we're going to do, and then we brainstormed it, and you know, we were like, hey, let's try this, and he's like, let's do this, and then it got to the ending, and Aaron had told me what he wanted, and I went to start writing it, and I was like, I'm not too comfortable about this anymore. And it's because I've been banned on Amazon so many times. Like I literally woke up one day and they had turned my account off. And, you know, I talk about the feelings in the book and what I wanted to do. And my first thought was literally just to swing from a rope, because I was like, they've just taken everything from me. You know, because I can't pay my bills. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose everything. And I can't even remember what the fucking book was that caused the trouble. But I wrote one with Wrath, Boys Night. That was banned. I wrote a fucking joke book about a unicorn that had a dick on its head. Well, it was a horse that had a dick on its head. So it looked like a unicorn. I called it Uniporn. And it goes into the porn industry. And that got banned. And you're just like... Oh. But they were okay with my gay dinosaur erotica. I mean, yeah. So you just like now I tread a very careful line, and I find it weird that people still call me this extreme horror author, because I don't really think I'm that extreme. You know, there's more extreme authors out there, but I'm just waiting for them to fall foul of Amazon, because it will happen.
I think some, you know, and as we sort of wrote this book more, we noticed a lot of it was very psychological, you know, and in the characters' heads, and you know, but I still thought in reading your parts too and writing my own that despite it being psychological, like a lot of it was still pretty disturbing. Some of the ideas and ways that the two characters we wrote go about things, you know.
Yeah, I'm quite lucky with writing with you in this way, because people already know I write psychological kids books, erotica, thrillers, extreme. You know, I write loads of different genres, so I've never promised these people that this is an extreme horror. But the way you've set yourself up within the industry, I think you're in a bad position right now. Because people are going to be like, oh, this. I've even seen the comments already where people are like, this is going to be fucked up. And it's not a nice story. As you say, it is deeply unsettling in places, but it's not an extreme horror. And I'm just there thinking, I wonder how many people are going to be pissed off with this.
No, I think there's parts in this thing that are just fucking ridiculous. You know it, that it goes to. But I know what you're saying. If you're showing up and you're just thinking like, oh, you're gonna read 200 pages of just absolute blood and gore, that's not what it is. But to me, yeah, it could be just as disturbing as that, if not more, because of how the characters are in their spirit. You know what I mean?
I think the most bad thing about this book is the fact that it can happen in real life. Where if you're reading extreme horror, and there are very two different marketplaces. You know, you got the people that just want the girl getting raped with a fucking chainsaw that suddenly vomits acid everywhere. You've got the people that just want really fucked up stuff. But then this side of the horror that we've captured here, as you say, it's bad because it can happen in real life. You know, these people exist. Yeah, we've painted some caricatures here. You know, they're pretty over the top with some of their thoughts and things. But the fact that you've got, well, in America, so many high school shootings, it shows that these people are real. Yeah. And I think that's the darkest part of the book right there. So not the gore. There is gore in there for the people that want it. Not loads, but there's enough to satisfy it, I think. But yeah, it's the characters on this one, I think.
But that's the thing. Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to say one more thing, Roland.
No, please go ahead.
But I think that's the thing too. You know, like, we're not just gonna stuff it full of gore just to do that. You know what I mean? Like, if it doesn't make sense. And actually, like, my most recent release, Modern Hysteria, I don't consider that to be extreme horror necessarily. There are extreme moments in it, but I don't think I'm in a pickle because my readers, they love that book. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like Survivor's Guilt in a way. It has its moments, but there's a lot of psychology to it and getting into the spirit of the characters. And I just enjoyed going back.
Be fine then.
Yeah, I just enjoyed going back and forth with you though. Like, I remember there was one day we were writing this, and like, I think we might have wrote 4 chapters, just sort of like bouncing back and forth throughout the day. And it was really fun. It was easy, which I was not expecting. I didn't expect it to be as easy as it was. So
good for you. I was getting really fucked off because I was in the middle of writing something else. I'll send it to you, and I thought, right, I've got about a day, and I'm there. Ping. Oh. So I stopped this and I jumped back into this quickly. Just fuck off. Back to ping.
How long did it take you guys, like from start to finish?
I would say probably a week's worth of work, but spread out because I kept getting sidetracked with other projects, which I feel bad about because Aaron's there like, hey man, just take your time, there's no pressure. But I know how fucking infuriating it is when you just want to get writing and you have to wait. And in the end, we had set it up in such a way. I said to Aaron, I need your character to do this, this, and this. And he was like, well, I need your character to do this, this, and this. So it gave us both the opportunity to go and write block chapters. Because in the book, when you read it, you've got his chapter, my chapter, his chapter, my chapter. So then when I had the file back from him, I'd put his bits in, and then I'd send over my next bits for him. I think it worked quite well like that. But it took us, I'd say, a good couple of months properly, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It
was just because of me.
Yeah, I think the biggest conversation, like, honestly, almost all the story was there. As we wrote it, we'd think of other things ourselves, and then you kind of taught me a cool collaborative method, just sort of, highlighting the different elements that are going to come later on and making some notes after your chapter so when the next guy picks up that it's real easy, And we didn't have to, we never had a conversation. It was just mostly voice messages here and there on Facebook. And it was super fucking easy.
This bastard can do more than 1 minute's worth of voice. How's he doing that?
Yeah, in the UK they apparently restrict one more than a minute voice message on Facebook for some reason.
That's fucking tyranny because we could do like 3 minutes here now.
Yeah, I know he does. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again.
I know he sends me audio clips of moaning for like 3 minutes straight, just him moaning, and that's it. That's all I get.
That's because we're gonna cross the line of decency here, but I don't give a fuck. People expect it. He was going to send videos of himself masturbating, but the author Tim Miller taught us that's a bad thing to do, right, kids? Too soon? Something we did when we were doing this was I asked Aaron if he could highlight, because he would sometimes, like, his chapters would cross over with my character, and he would start doing dialogue. And, we're both writing very specific characters. And the worst thing you can do is have someone else write your character's dialogue because, Aaron's got a different voice. I've got a different voice to him. So he would highlight all of the dialogue, and then I'd go back and I'd use words that I would use. And then when I do chapters featuring his character, I'd put it in bold and he'd put words that he would use when his character's talking. And that's a really good trick to make it more seamless.
Oh, cool. It's going to be interesting to see if readers can figure out what your voice is and what Aron's voice is in the story.
Oh, we told them. We tell them on the back.
You tell them on the back. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I didn't see the back of it.
Do we?
Yeah, but it's also makes sense. I mean, your character's from the UK. I mean, which makes
there we go.
so it's like it's kind of a dead giveaway. But it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just the way that we did that, though. Like you said, it made it really easy because then you still have your character's full voice because it's from their perspective through the whole chapter, and the other guy is just going through and making sure those bits of dialogue are proper, and I think people are really gonna dig it, And it was the first time I've collaborated in this manner, so I feel like I learned a lot from the experience. And yeah, thank you. I'm very grateful for it.
Not to work with you again. Win-win.
How did you guys come up with the cover design? Who settled on that?
Matt got that.
I found it and I was like, hey, that's a cool cover. And I showed him and he was like, yeah, that works. It really was a 3-minute process.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was because you actually had this thing that you wrote with your character where he was talking about sort of being faceless, you know what I mean? Like in society.
Yeah.
And so actually the cover really fits well with the story. I was like, oh, I like it. It's very simplistic, but it's so like, fitting, for what we're talking about.
And it's kind of creepy looking as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the cover will look nice, especially in one of the 20 limited edition hardbacks that have now sold out.
So,
Are there paperbacks
plenty
still available?
plenty of paper.
There are paperbacks still available.
Okay, just checking. All right,
Awesome.
we have a ton of listener questions, Aaron. I don't know if we'll talk more about Survivor's Guilt, or if you want to start moving to some of these hellacious questions that we have for Matt here.
okay.
No, I think we can start getting into the questions, but let me just ask Matt one more, and then we'll go right into listener questions. What do you think? Like, what if you could give advice to an up and coming writer, just a single piece that you think is maybe the most important in their early stages? What would you tell them? Like,
Just write. Basically, a lot of people, they're like, I'm going to write a book, and they'll get halfway through the book and they'll be like, I don't like this anymore. And then they'll start again, or they'll put it to the side and they'll never come back to it. Just write your fucking book. Your book is going to be a piece of dog shit, but you've finished it. Then when you've finished writing your first book, you will then have the confidence to sit down and write another one, which is going to be better. But so many people sit down and they fail at the first hurdle because they cannot finish their first book. But to save going into loads of advice, I think it's easier, if you don't mind, if I just point them to a YouTube video. If you just put in, so you want to be a writer, because I funded a 45-minute documentary piss take thing telling you everything you need to know about writing. And that really gives you the insights from how to publish, how to find your stories, beat writer's block, what type of voice to use. But something that I don't really talk about a lot, and I don't know how you guys feel about this when you see reviews or when you see authors bragging about this, but it boils my piss. I want to be the next Stephen King. I've had people come up to me going, Matt, you've inspired me. I want to be the next Matt Shaw. No, you don't. You don't want to be the next anyone. You want to be you. Get your voice. Be original.
yeah, we've had that exact same verbatim what you just said that we've talked about on this show, because you're not gonna ever replicate anybody 100% anyway, and why would you want to do that?
I was going to say, why would you want to?
Yeah,
Be inspired. Fine. When you read my kids' books, you can see there's clear inspiration taken from the author Roald Dahl. But I'm not Roald Dahl, and I would never dream of trying to replicate him or be him. But you can just hear bits of him in my voice because I've spent so much time studying his work. And that's not a great situation to be in, because we've got an author in England called David Walliams, who's like the next big kids writer. You know, every month he's releasing a book, and even his artwork is the same style as the artwork used in Roald Dahl's books. And when you read his books, it just sounds like a cheap Roald Dahl book. And that's all you're going to be.
Yeah.
So be original.
That's great advice.
I love Roald Dahl. Did you? I mean, you sound like you're really into him. So,
fucking, where is he? No. There he is.
Oh.
So, are you a big fan of his adult works too? Like, I love his like Tales of the Unexpected, that horror collection they put out of him. I was like obsessed with that when it came out. Like, well, not when it came out, but when I got my hands on it.
I was more Tales from the Crypt than Tales from the Unexpected, but the written work that he actually does, I absolutely love. And I don't know if you've seen whether you guys got the metal cased version of the film Psycho, but there was a TV show called Hitchcock Presents.
I love that.
And one of the bonus features on Psycho was Lamb to the Slaughter, which is one of Roald Dahl's adult stories. So yeah, I love his adult work. I love his kids' work. I think the guy's just a fucking genius.
He's so good, and I feel like his kids' work is so popularized, and I love his kids' work too. But I feel like his adult work is sometimes, maybe, I don't know if it's that way in the UK, but maybe in like America, that it goes lesser noticed, you know. And
oh no, definitely kids stuff in England big. The adult stuff not quite as known, which I think is a shame. But you know, he only really found his way when he started writing the kids stuff.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, I think we can get into some reader questions. As Roland, I think you're kicking us off on these, right?
Yeah, I'll go first. Well, you answered part of Donna Latham's question, which was what one piece of advice would you give to new authors? And you said just write. And she also wanted to know, how do you choose who you collaborate with?
They choose me, love.
All right.
No, the most scared I've ever been was approaching Rath James White and just saying, "Hey, do you want to collaborate on a book?" Because I honestly thought the guy would tell me to get fucked. But he's just like, yeah. So I was like, oh, sweet. But really, it's just who I see out and about and who I think I could vibe with quite well. You know, originally I put a post up years ago saying I want to do a collaboration. Who would like to do it with me? And Michael Bray's name popped up, and obviously I'd heard of him. I hadn't read his books by then, because you know I don't read a lot of horror, believe it or not. I try and read anything but horror. And as soon as I saw his name there, I was like, yeah, I want to work with him. So then it's like Rath James White. I approached him. Ryan Harding. I thought we need to do something together. Ed Lee has said no every fucking time. Every time I approach him, he's just rammed with work, and I'm like, hey man, if you don't like me, just say. I mean,
how can anybody not like you, Matt?
Well, I just picture Lee just like it's cool as shit. That's cool as shit, because it's all he'd ever say at a KillerCon. If you're outside and he's having a cigarette and you're talking to him, everything's just cool as shit.
Even in his emails, he writes that, so it's pretty accurate.
And Matt,
he's a character. He's great.
Yeah.
And I got a signed copy of Boys Night from Wrath at Scares That Care, so I'm gonna have to bring that to New York for you to sign it for me.
Normally, I just draw a massive dick and an arrow pointing to Wrath's name. Did you know, this is an actual fact, that when he hit me, I actually pretended it hurt.
Oh, you got knocked across the room. Don't even lie. I was there. After he was crying in the corner, like.
Do you know, the following year, I asked him if he would roundhouse kick me. And he took one look at my legs, and he was like, No, man.
Yeah, we had Ryan Harding on. He was talking about your book. What is it, 1,000 Severed Dicks that you guys wrote together? Is that with Ryan?
Yeah.
But how is that collaborating with Ryan? He's done a lot of collabs, and he seems like he's a pretty cool guy to work with.
It was, I mean, from what I remember, that one was pretty hard, because he's got a very particular writing style. And from memory, that one wasn't quite as simplistic in its story. You know, like Aaron, I'm sure you'll agree, Survivor's Guilt, whilst a fun read for the readers, when you take all the elements out, it's quite a simple story.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And with the layers in 1,000 Severed Dicks, it just got more and more complicated each time. But I'd love to work with him on something crazy, because I reckon we could knock it out of the park.
Yeah, his stuff's good. I actually started reading his new one that's coming out. He sent me an art copy at Transmental Mutilation. That's what it's called, somewhere around there. And the first story is called Corpse Fucker Blues. So it's
Have you met him?
Not in person, not yet, but
because he's like, I swear to God, this guy's a fucking serial killer. Because when you talk to him, he seems normal and pretty quiet. And I'm like, I was watching him at KillerCon, because they were all gathered around the swimming pool, and I spent most of my time in the swimming pool that year. And I was just watching Ryan, and he's so quiet, and his mannerisms and the way he moves are very still. And I'm like, this guy's a fucking serial killer. You just know he writes fucked up stuff while someone's screaming in the back. And I say that with love, by the way, before anyone thinks I'm having a pop at him, because I'm not.
Yeah.
It's Transcendental Mutilation. I completely fucked that up. But yes, it's the Corpse Fucker Blues is the first story, and I'm about halfway through it, and I was eating it during lunch today, and I was like, I'm gonna go back to this later on, because it starts off pretty heavy. So that should be coming out soon. I think that's gonna be his new one. So
next year we'd expect that up on the old Splatterpunk Awards again, then, eh?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Carver, are you still there?
I'm here. I'm just listening.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
no, now you
Here.
can talk. So I think you had the next question.
He's mixing macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, so I know you Matt, you answered the question of what your most extreme book was, but Killer Bunny Charlie asked, what is your favorite book that you've ever written? And Aaron, I think you added this part. This is obviously and why is it the book that's obviously being released on May 4th? Right?
That was not me.
How dare you try to besmirch Aaron?
Well, it definitely isn't that book. My favorite book that I've written is not a horror, believe it or not. It's a book called The Missing Years of Thomas Prichard. And I love it because it makes a lot of people cry when they read it, because it's quite a sad story about a guy, a little boy that he just disappears from his house one day, and then a few years later he comes home, but he's changed. To give you an idea, his mum makes him his favourite meal. It's roast chicken, and he's there with his sister. He's never met his sister before because she wasn't born when he was, disappeared. And he starts screaming at the sight of this roast chicken, and he can't look at it. So she goes to make him a sandwich, and then suddenly from the other room, the daughter is screaming. So she runs in, and she's screaming with laughter because now the chicken is alive on the table. It's got its feathers back, and everything's fine, and it's just clucking around on the table. So he's come back with his magic powers, but every time he uses them, he ages a little bit. And the more elaborate the tricks he does, the more he ages. So it's a heartbreaking story, and I was just super proud of that one, because most of the stories, The Missing Years of Thomas Prichard.
Sounds really good.
But it's in a book called Heaven's Calling. It's 3 novellas in there. You've got Boy Built to Love, about a man and a woman, and their kid dies. And the guy works for NASA. in the AI department, and he builds an AI thing to replace the dead kid. So you got that one, and then the last one was no, the book's called Tears. Sorry, because the last story is called Heaven's Calling. And every day at the same time, a woman's phone goes off, and it's her other half. But the problem is he died a few weeks ago in a car crash while he was on the phone to her.
Wow.
So ever since that day, he phones her exactly the same time because he's not aware that he's actually dead. So he's stuck in a loop. So all of those are quite heartbreaking stories, but they're different to the horror, and there's magic in them and nice messages. And I know that sounds really weird coming from me.
And you wrote this under Matt Shaw, right?
Yeah, so they really don't sell very well.
Well, I was just going to ask you, like, how that goes. I mean, do you do that often? Do you write? Have you written many books that are not horror?
Yeah, because I enjoy it. You know, like if you want a horror one, that's one of my favorites. I wrote a ghost story called The Cabin because I like ghost stories. But I was in hospital last year and I was fucked out in the head on drugs, and I stopped the drugs in the end because I started seeing things in the ward. And the guy opposite me said he was seeing things as well, and he had given up the drugs. And I was like, well, what if we're not seeing things? What if we're seeing spirits of people that have actually died in this hospital ward? So I wrote a book called The Immortal Shadows, about a guy that goes for a simple operation, and, you know, he starts seeing the shadows, and they try and leave him messages and things so he can help them out, and because no one else can. So again, that one's quite a sad one, but they don't sell well. But I write those for me, so I don't really care.
You being able to do that, right? Everything from children's books to extreme horror just speaks volume about you as a writer, period. So that range is impressive. So I just want to say that's incredible. And what?
I said thanks.
Oh, no, seriously. And I want to go read those now because they sound like they would be amazing. So I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah,
I just think
it's
really cool because I've been asked the question a lot of times about doing that, and that's kind of why I created the other pen names and stuff like that. And people hit me with that question all the time, like, should they create a different pen name if they're going to switch genres or write a story that doesn't really go with their normal paranormal or their horror or their, you know what I mean? I never really know how to answer it because it's a bitch to juggle pen names. It's a fucking pain in the ass, and I still don't know whether I've worked it out or figured it out. So
there's two reasons why I would say no. Just stick to yourself. For one, before we can get to the reasons, you can write down on the cover whether it's a psychological, whether it's an extreme, whether it's a tearjerker. So, you know, you can direct the people towards that. But I don't know how well you find your sales, but I think we can all agree it's very hard to sell a book these days. You know, it doesn't matter whether, you know, you've been in the industry like for me for fucking years. It doesn't matter whether you're new. It's a hard thing to crack. And if you've got loads of different names, this name might be known, this name isn't. Now, if you do everything under the name that's known, you can just point people to the right story. And also, it's a fucking great feeling when you're walking around somewhere and someone recognizes you by name. And if you're using a fake name, it doesn't work.
Matt, and I think I second Roland. I think those sounded really awesome and like unique too. But I think to, you know, the people who are in the early stages of writing and still figuring stuff out, even if you don't think that you would write a full book of that nature, like of what the content that Matt's talking about, you can still embed, you know, miniature arcs within your overall story that are outside of horror, I think, and it could still help you grow in some ways too. So, you know.
Yeah, never be scared to experiment. And, you know, worst case scenario, you end up writing yourself a short story. You don't have to publish a short story. You can put it to one side for however long, and suddenly you might write another one another day, and you start getting a collection build up. But it's good to embrace other writing styles, even if it's not something that you think you're particularly strong at, because it broadens your own horizon and abilities.
Yeah. Going back to one quick thing, I'm sorry, guys. So you just said it's hard to sell books. What advice would you give people as far as advertising, promoting? What do you do for yourself in that genre or that area?
I do fuck all. I literally do nothing. I mean, I've paid for Amazon ads before. They're bullshit. I've paid for Facebook adverts before. Throw money down the toilet. Just go and burn it. I was fortunate. Sick Bastards took off, and overnight I managed to quit my job. And I've just been balancing it ever since. And I was lucky enough to get a readership. So now when I release a book, readers share the book for me. I've already seen it on Books of Horror for all of your works. You've all had, a Donna come along, a Renee come along and share your books.
Yeah.
So there's your marketing, and you're all doing it. Aaron, you're the biggest kiss ass for this one. You're doing it because someone shares something, so you heart their message, and you're like, thank you very much. You're being nice to them because they've been nice enough to share your work, and you're respecting them not as just a reader, but as a true supporter. And it crosses over into friendship. Then there's your marketing. Get to know the readers, get to be friends with them, and then everything will happen organically, and you won't be spending money. I do know of an author, I won't name him, and he spends thousands each month on advertising, and I know he makes thousands back each month. But who out of this particular group has thousands to risk on that? I know I don't. So yeah, just the readers is a way to market.
I agree with
I nominate Aaron. Aaron has it. He can try.
Yeah, right.
Aaron's sitting in his smoking jacket right now in his lounge, so he's got the money.
Yeah, it does look a bit posh there.
Yeah.
Not like this shit. I'll look at it.
It's not as great as you think. Trust me. But I think you're right. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. But I'll just say one thing. I think you're right, though. Creating a sort of network of people, and as long as you're being respectful and kind and acknowledging is a big thing, and it's like, yes, that does take time, and I think people understand that, if you're going out of your way to try to respond to everybody, that is sort of like a little mini job. You're not paying with money, you're actually like sort of paying with time, but it's rewarding because it's something that you want to do, and you're giving your readers what they want as well. And like you said, Matt, it ends up turning into friendship, and it's a good thing,
And flip side of the coin, if they're doing that for you, there's more opportunity, more chance that you're going to turn around and go, you know what, such and such has really helped me out on that last release because they did this. I'm going to let them have this release for nothing.
Yeah.
So they're scratching your back. They're buying your books. They're sharing your books. You're noticing that. You're thanking them as you say that. It takes, I don't do it as much as I used to, and it bothers me because it is a full-time job. Seeing your name tagged and replying to each and every single one of those people to say thank you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it doesn't go unnoticed, and then you give them little perks here and there. John, read this book free for me. One lady, her name escapes me at the moment because I'm tired. I've spoken to her like twice, but she did a video for me on one of my books. So I gave her a book that's not out for months yet, and she got it before Christmas. She got to read it, and that's just as a little thank you,
Like it. Thanks.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I gave a couple copies of an unreleased book to people that came a far distance to see me at Scares That Care, and like you said, it's people that constantly sharing your stuff, and they're so enthusiastic. It's like they deserve to be rewarded in some way,
Yeah.
So they've totally earned it,
I will just go on. The ones that don't are the ones that ask. Yeah, I don't know whether you guys are saying, "Oh, can I have this for free? Oh, can you send me this?" Fuck off. It's like, I'd love to, but I can't. I have bills to pay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. I have another reader question from actually one of our UK listeners and readers, Ray Howe, who's a big fan of the show and a big fan of all of ours. And he wants to know, and I believe this is obviously geared towards people not in the U.S. It says, in your experience, are there any other major challenges facing self-published authors that might differ from those operating in the U.S.? So do you find any difficulty not being in the U.S.? And for an overseas writer, is there any recommendations you'd give?
No, I think it's pretty much the same wherever you go. It's not about talent anymore for writing and getting yourself a full-time job. I mean, look at Aaron. He's a fucking hack.
Yeah. It's heart reaction for that.
It's not about that. It's about talent and luck and perseverance. And you have to have everything. It doesn't matter where you are. I mean, to give you an example, I actually think I have the upper hand in selling when I go over to America. Because if I'm there and there's an American author there that they can see any day, they're going to talk to me because they know I'm about to go home to the UK. Same way if an American author came to the UK, they're going to have the upper hand because the reader will want to talk to them more because they know they're about to go back to the US. So, yeah, it swings and roundabouts.
So the lesson is, don't get a table next to Matt Shaw if you're in the United States. He's going to fucking...
You know what? It was great. I did Crypticon, which is one of my favorite shows. I love the people there. And I think I want to say his name was Matt. I can't remember his surname, and it really pisses me off. But when I go to Crypticon, I go as a guest. So, I'm advertised and blah. I get a handler on the table, which is great because she's like, "Are you hungry?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just want a box of bacon." And they go and get me a box of bacon. It's fantastic. They even run ahead and open the door, And when I get home and no one's opening doors for me, it's fucking infuriating. But this author was American, and he was in one of the parties. He wasn't in the VIP party because I was a guest. I was in the VIP party. He was in the normal party, bitching about me directly to my handler, saying he's only in there because he's from the UK. He doesn't sell shit. And it all came straight back to me. And I thought, yeah, actually, you're right, mate. I am only there because I'm a UK author that flew in.
All right. I have another question from Chris Grindstaff. He wants to know what one piece of advice you wish you had been given when you were starting out.
Go extreme.
Go extreme?
Yeah. When I first started out, I did Happy Ever After, and it got some nice feedback. But then I sort of scaled it back, and I was writing what I perceived to be quite mainstream horror, and they weren't really selling, so I wasn't really finding my footing in the market. But the moment I crossed over to the extreme, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and disgust people, that's when things started falling into place. Now, before other people think, oh, well, I'm going to go and do that, it's not going to work today, because I can count on hands and fucking toes how many of my readers are now authors, because they think it's easy to write an extreme book. So the extreme marketplace has now become saturated. And I don't know whether you guys are finding the same, but every day you turn around, there's a new fucking extreme horror author. And so people rush there thinking that's the easy way to make the money, but nowadays it really isn't. But yeah, back in the day, if someone had told me that like a few years earlier, I could have saved myself loads of time.
All right, and then he had a follow-up question, and he wants to know How long does each step take you from blank page to getting your book in readers' hands? Like approximately.
Wow, it depends on the editor, how long they're going to take to go through the book. Survivor's Guilt took fucking ages to come back. Apparently Aaron's spelling was all over the place. But it actually sounded like you did a clown horn thing then with your chest.
It's Aaron's chair.
Did you? Oh yeah. Was that it?
Yeah.
Either is his chair or his asshole, one or the other.
Oh, it's not that tight.
Why can't it be both? Yeah.
We have a question about that later for you, Matt. Actually, from Rain Havoc.
Sure do.
From who?
From Rain Havoc. It's about
How tight is my arsehole?
We'll have to wait and see. I don't want to ruin.
Go ahead.
Shall I answer?
To answer the question, Roland's like, it was pretty tight. I had to take a running jump. I've forgotten the fucking question. What was the question?
How quick
does it take from start to end?
And then you were shitting on Aaron too, so if you could do more of that, we'd appreciate it.
Please.
Well, we're buds now, so it's allowed. Fucking hack. It takes me. I just wrote a book called Old, and that was 150 pages, and it took me 3 days to write it. That will go off to the editor. At the moment, she is snowed under with so much of my work, because if you pay attention to Amazon, you'll see I have a release every month lined up until next April now, and I've written all of that stuff. So, yeah, it's hard to say. It takes me not very long to write these books, as long as my mind's on it.
Yeah.
But the editor, it can come back within a few days to a few weeks.
Okay. Do you use just one editor, or do you have multiple?
Yeah, I use my mum. I do actually use my mum.
Really?
Yeah, because she was always good at it at school, and then she started doing proofreading for people.
And isn't it your mother's birthday today?
Today.
Yeah, and I was round her house enjoying my evening.
Yeah.
When Aaron's like, actually, we're doing it in like half an hour, you motherfucker. And I was like, oh shit, I don't know. And he said, you better get there, or I'm gonna have you fucking killed.
Aaron.
Yeah, he gets
Happy
very
birthday,
pushy.
Mrs. Shaw.
No, she actually cried when I left. She's like, don't leave me. It's like,
what
don't
you did, Aaron.
You'll survive one more night. I'll see you tomorrow, even though you're old. Died.
Carver, did you have another question?
Yeah, this came from Kane Lambert, and I think you might have kind of answered it earlier when you were talking about being at dinner and getting the idea for the, what was it, fluffy foofle?
Foo phlegm.
Foo phlegm. He said his question was, does the thought process for your books occur naturally, or do you have to set a mood for it? He has two questions. That's the first.
Well, it just comes naturally. Like, I was having a romantic meal on the beach many years ago in Antigua. This thing's fucking amazing, by the way. White sands, beautiful waters, just the moon, so bright, and it's a la carte food. It's glorious. And I was having turkey, and I suddenly had an idea popped in my head, and I started chuckling. I was like, so what if there's a man and a wife? The wife hates the man loves watching animals, watching birds. And she's like, to punish him for Christmas, she's going to get a turkey that they're going to fatten up, and he's going to have to kill it. So she gets his turkey in, and he goes out every day to feed it, and he starts talking to it, and then he starts fucking it because it starts talking back, and they get a relationship going. That was an idea at a romantic dinner on a beach,
Wait, what was the name of that book?
Bird.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, I wrote Bird first, and then I wrote the sequel because he fucks it to death, and then, sorry, spoilers, and in the end, he's got this dead bird, and he's driven out to the field, and he's crying, and his window's down on his car, and he hears his voice, what's the matter? And he turns around, and there's a cow.
Yeah.
And he
I
ends
don't
up
even know
dating-
what you have to buy from Home Depot to make this movie happen.
Mate, you have no idea. I have written the script for this, and it is on IMDb already because we want to make it with a cross between a real turkey and a puppet turkey.
Oh, funny.
It
And
sounds
Kane-
amazing.
Kane's second question was, what is your favorite horror film?
You know what? Recently, I really like the film X.
That was awesome.
That was great.
I thought it's fun because there's a lot of tits in it, and I really fancied the fuck out that blonde girl. You know, she was just a bit of filth, and I was like, yeah, that'll do me. So at the moment, I'll probably say X, but you know, I also like the original Cabin Fever. I thought it was quite a fun film. If you just turn your brain off. The Woman in Black, because I like supernatural stuff, and the original Blair Witch Project scared the shit out of me.
Yeah,
me too.
I watched it and I was like, this is fucking wank. And I watched it at midnight on Halloween at the cinema, and the walk home was 8 miles.
Oh.
And part of that, I had to cut through the woods.
Wow.
So I cut through the woods, and the wind was literally through the fucking trees, and I heard.
Ooh.
Now, to this day, I don't know what that was, but I know that in England we don't have anything bad. The worst it would be is a badger. But I thought, keep calm, keep calm. I got round the corner and I fucking ran. And it was just because it was in that moment that film started playing on my mind, and I was like, that was a clever film. Okay.
You had to walk 8 miles from the theater to your house?
Yeah.
That's a long
Yeah, they were
walk.
brilliant with that one because I guess I was just dumb enough to think it was fucking real when that movie came out. Like they had the books out at Barnes and Noble and shit with all the police records and stuff and photos. I mean, the marketing was fucking brilliant for that movie.
The marketing made it. If it wasn't for the marketing, I don't think it would have done very well. But that went absolutely mental because of the marketing.
Yeah.
I think I saw it 3 times in the theater. Yeah.
Oh, fuck that. I saw it once.
All right. We have another one from Jennifer Bowder, and it says some stories originate from a personal experience or general observance, and since your stories are so extreme, what is the craziest real-life experience or observation that may have inspired one of your stories?
There was a girl I used to fancy at school, and one day I followed her home, and just before she got to the front door, I clubbed her in the back of the head, and I dragged her into the bushes and I raped her. And that was when I decided I could probably start writing the world.
The love stories all this time.
Oh my god.
We're gonna catch some shit for that one. That's great.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's the end of Written in Red. Thank you.
No, I'm joking. My life really isn't that crazy. I'm quite quiet in real life. You know, I'm Roland. You've met me. I'm not.
He's very quiet.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll say very quiet.
if
There's a schooler, Roman.
if there's a group around me, I kind of turn into a cross between Jack Sparrow and Russell Brand, you know, because I put the persona on of this crazy character. But if it's just like, you know, when we went for breakfast, it's just me. So I just drop all of that and I'm quite quiet. So my life isn't really that crazy and nothing bad has happened in it. You know, I just have a dark imagination. You know, even going back to school days when I was bullied, that inspired the book The Eighth, by the way, is when I was bullied at school for being gay. I'm not, by the way. I like foo-foos too much. But everyone at school used to think I was queer. And so I used to catch a lot of flack for it. And yeah, my teacher in primary school was a nonce. Do you know nonce, paedophile, kiddie fiddler, you know, likes little boys.
Yeah.
And he used to take me on holiday. And on holiday, he used to bathe me. And this is the truth. I see Roland's getting ready to laugh. But
No. Yeah, I'm just listening.
and you know, I was there with his grandson. His grandson was in my class, and the noncy teacher would bathe us both. And I never thought anything bad of it. So it was only years later I found out that he actually died in prison because he was a kiddie fiddler. And, you know, so that's probably the most extreme thing that's ever happened in my life. And he didn't even fuck me, you know. So it's just a dark sense of humor I have. So, yeah.
Do you feel like a sense of rejection because he didn't choose you, or?
You know what? This is really bad. When I was with the psychiatrist and I would talk about this, she was like, "How do you feel?" I said, "Well, for one, I fucking loved that man. You know, I know it sounds really weird. He abused a lot of kids, but he taught me an awful lot. He taught me how to give the perfect blowjob, the perfect hand job. No, he taught me lots of things at school, like proper things. And he was only ever a kind guy to me, you know. And looking back now, there's a part of me going, well, why didn't he at least come on my face? You know, what, you know. I mean, this guy's a fucking legit monster, you know, the stuff he done to kids. And not once did he try and even pinky my asshole. I'm like, how fucking ugly am I as a kid that a monster won't even fuck me? And yeah, so I know you asked a question in jest, but it is something that I've discussed with psychiatrists before now, because there is a deep sense of rejection that I wasn't fucked by my teacher.
Matt, we love you. We're gonna move on to the next one.
Carver, take it away, please.
Yeah, how do we move on from that?
I don't know.
Roland, do you have the next question?
Yes, I have the next question. So, Don Keith wants to know, what's more important as a writer in your books, plot or character?
I think they both go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, the plot, you have to have a plot. It doesn't matter if it's a simple plot. You can make it more intricated as you go along. But if the characters are boring, then no one cares. Yeah. You could have a fantastic plot, but with paper-thin characters who are just fucking retarded. No one will give a shit. It's the same with, I think it's worth pointing out now, extreme horror with no plot. There's a few authors out there, and I've, you know, come across a couple of them myself, where they just write to shock people. It's boring. You know, it's not fun to read. It's not big. It's not clever. So, yeah, I think character and plot hand in hand.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Aaron, I think Aaron does well with character development. I just finished one of his books, and I was pissed after I read it. I was like, I'm going to punch him in the fucking face the next time I see him for putting me through that.
Roland, so, Aaron, don't say anything else because you.
I'm not. So bravo to you, Aaron.
You fucking threaten me with violence again.
I reckon he'll scratch your eyes out. He doesn't look like a puncher. He looks like a scratch.
That's how I fight. I close my eyes at my windmill.
I have two questions from RJ Rolls.
I'm just saying this now. Roland is taking a punch from Wrath. Next time at Killathon.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
better you than me, man. RJ Rolls asked, how much money would it take for you to legally change your name to Shat Ma?
20 grand. So £20,000.
Okay.
Because I think it's a realistic amount that he may pay it, and then I'll just change it straight back again afterwards.
And also, what's your proudest author moment? And you can't say writing with Aaron. Other than writing with Aaron, what's your proudest author moment?
That's when I lowered my sights and scraped the barrel. Fucking hell, do I really have to write with a mongrel? Okay. Right, these are the small words, Aaron. The proudest writing moment, I think, it's been... I never fucking win, but I've been nominated for a Splatterpunk every year since it's come back. I think I'm pretty proud of that, given there's more and more horror authors popping up over the time. So I'm proud of that.
So yeah, we start the show. Aaron says 3-time Splatterpunk Award nominated author. I say 2 times. So what are you, like 14-time Splatterpunk Award?
I think in the first year alone there was 3 or 4 nominations, and I was there with Jared Barbie, from Death Head Press, is it? Yeah. And he was like, "Well, you got to come tonight," because I was like, "Fuck, I don't do award shows, man. I don't do them." He's like, "You got to come. You're up for loads. You'll win one at least." And I won fuck all. And just how much of a kicker that is, because you start thinking it. You're like, they'll let me have one. Surely I'll get one. If I'm nominated for all of these, one of them's got to come my way.
It's funny you bring Jared up, because Patrick posted a picture that he wanted your explanation on of you. It looks like you're molesting Jared in the photo.
Yeah, I heard in America everything's bigger, but it's not true. That guy's got a tiny penis. But you don't know until you grab a handful. So that's what I did. I grabbed his dick. It was sticky.
Balls.
All right. Moving along from Jared's genitalia.
Jared.
Nikki Fontana, who is an awesome a listener, a reader. She came out to see us at Scares That Care. She wants to know, who was your favorite character you wrote, and from which book, and any characters based on you, and I'll go from there. So, who's your favorite character you wrote, and any of them based on you?
Your mum.
Okay,
that's a good character.
Amazing, yeah.
Not based on me, but based on what I ate last night. Also,
yes.
Your mum. I'm just thinking. I will go with Peter Jenkins from Happy Ever After, because he is kind of me. And I know that sounds really bad because he's a little bit rapey. And I swear to God, I've never raped anyone. But I understand his mindset, where all he wants is someone to love him. So he actually takes this girl and he locks her in the house. And the idea is, if it's just the two of them with no one to interfere, eventually she'll love him. It's his happy ever after. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but I can understand the logic there. And I've been in places in my life where I have been so lonely, where you just want a partner. You want someone to share life experiences with. And it's a horrible feeling when you don't have that. So that's probably the most me into character. But truthfully, there's bits of me in every single book. But that's probably not something that I should be bragging about either.
Now, the other thing she asks, and I always want to know this too, like when you're going to write for the day, what does a work day of writing look for you? Are you up at 6 a.m. like you said earlier every day, or is it different?
No, I mean, that's only a recent thing since getting back from Africa, is I've been changing my sleeping patterns. Normally I would be awake whenever I wake up. I wouldn't set an alarm. So I might wake up like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, grab a packet of crisps and a bar of chocolate for breakfast and just sit at my sofa with my feet up on the coffee table and my laptop on and Netflix on the television, and I'll just start writing, and I wouldn't stop until normally about 7 o'clock ish, and then I'd start again like 10 o'clock ish, and I'd stop probably about midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning and then go to bed. I wouldn't leave the house. Like before Africa, I was doing these Fitbits that count your steps. One of the days I did 40 steps in a full day. So that shows you how much I'm literally sitting down writing. And I need to really change that, because 40 steps in a day is you're bordering on a heart attack territory there. So I need to get a little bit fit.
So next, speaking of Africa, first of all, did you have a good time?
The middle part of the trip was fantastic.
The middle part
sucked.
What sucked about
it? The flights, the people, pretty much every fucking thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, what was your favorite part of it?
Probably meeting Mac, the elephant that I was taking selfies with every day.
Those are great pictures.
He is. When I was in Africa, I found a new love. I've loved elephants forever, but I found a new level of love for these creatures because the intelligence in the eyes and the beauty and everything about them. But I also found a new level of fucking hatred for anyone that will hurt an animal.
Wow.
And I think if I was ever to end up going to prison, it would be because someone hurts an animal in front of me.
Oh.
I got home from Africa, last week or the week before, and literally within 5 days of being home, an elephant just got poached.
Oh.
And it wasn't because they wanted the tusks. They just wanted to pay $50,000 so they could shoot an elephant.
Damn.
And, just makes me fucking sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, hanging out with that elephant every day was magic.
All right, so to feed on that, Rob Carter wants to know who the hell let you have a chainsaw in Africa?
They didn't let me turn it on.
Ah.
So they were playing with it. Basically, my job, because I was volunteering out there, so I was working with rhinos and elephants and blah blah blah. But I was also having to fix roads and clear out clearings. So there's a massive tree that had got surrounded by loads of shit little trees. So they gave me a machete, which was fucking awesome. And we had to cut the things down. And then the guy showed up with a chainsaw, and he started helping us. And I was like, "Can I have a picture of the chainsaw, mate?" And he's like, "Why?" I said, "Just to freak my mum out."
That's awesome. I'm glad you had a good time. It looked like a lot of fun.
It took 2 years to get there because of COVID, but yeah, it was fantastic, and memories were made for life as well as friendships. But I did cry when I left the elephant.
Oh,
because this fucking bastard, he'd done this with the trunk, so it went round my arm and it pulled me into him. So I gave him a hug goodbye, and as I walked away, he's there just doing this with his trunk.
Oh wow, that's
done.
a great experience. I'm glad you got to have that experience. I really am.
Yes, me too.
I love the versatility of this interview as it goes from
Right.
and then I cried with the elephant.
Right. From being slightly rapey to crying about elephant's trunk.
It's funny you mentioned that with the elephant with the trunk, because that's what Aaron did when we left each other at Scares That Care. That's how he said goodbye to me. He
did the helicopter move with his dick, just
with his penis.
Yes, it was magical. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I cried too, but for the wrong reasons.
Still
when I left Roland,
Roland
just ran up behind me and just dick slapped me in the back of the head. He's like, "Bye, bump."
It's like a billy club.
Anaconda dick over there.
Shit, that's right.
I love the fact that when we all get together, there's going to be some readers, especially for Roland, who are going to be checking out the bulges to see if he really is Anaconda dick now.
I'm gonna stuff it with a sock now. I'm all balls.
You need
Just saying. Who's next?
Jeffrey Little has a question. He said, "Please ask him what possessed him to write Home Video. That book was messed up, gave me nightmares."
Money. Extreme Horror was selling, and it was a sick idea. So I was like, "Hey, I know. Let's do this." And I got in touch with Michael Bray, and I was like, "I want to do this," and blah, 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 and he bounced a few ideas off, and Home Video came about. But that was really just jumping on the extreme horror bandwagon because Sick Bastards and Porn and Rotting Dead Fucks had done so well.
What's the premise of it? Can you tell us without spoiling it? I don't know. I haven't read it. So.
Basically, two nameless guys, kidnap a woman, and they set up a camcorder and they basically torture her through the whole book, and she's got to do and then they send the videotape to her partner, who watches them every day, and that's as much as I can remember about it. I thought it was a romantic comedy, but there you go.
Yeah.
Kind of like Throw Mama from the Train or something,
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, we want to be respectful of your time. We're coming up on 2 hours. Do you have time for a couple more questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
You want to keep doing the ones? You want to keep with the reader questions still?
Yeah, we can finish out the reader questions, and then we have just that wrap up that we usually do.
All right. I'm going to ask you from Ben Chadwick. He wants to know what inspired the idea for How Much 2 and its subsequent sequels.
How Much 2 was a day when I was really pissed off because I was on Books of Horror and these fucking readers, man, they were just going, oh my God, Aaron's book. Oh, have you read Daniel's book? Oh, Roland's got a new. I was like, you know what? Fuck these guys. They're amateurs. So I went away and I did How Much 2 just to remind people that, you know what? I can do extreme horror. Don't forget me just because I'm over here doing psychological at the moment. So it really was just a way to slap people in the face and remind them that I can do sick if I want to. I'm getting bored of it.
Yeah,
I really like that one. That was what made me want to ask you.
Your guys' names.
That was what made me. I read that and I wanted to work with you after I read that. Just so you know.
Well, I wish I never wrote it. Regrets. I've had a few.
Let's see. So I'm gonna go next. Joey Young wants to know, what does the Matt Shaw find more mentally rewarding? Writing, butchering teddy bears, or making movies? Well,
Or option number 4, hookers.
hookers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just get a prostitute. That's more rewarding than anything else.
You have to pay for that. I can get it for free.
Yeah, all right, Anaconda Dick. Some of us are English with fucked up mouths, so we pay for it. Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
I would say more rewarding is probably the films. You know, I don't really make the money from that. But if you think you have written a script, you've gone away and you've raised the money, you've done the shot lists, you've got the locations, the actors, you've learned the lines, like in Box, because I obviously did Box, I did Chained, and then you direct it, you edit it, and then you see the final film. Like we watched Box on a proper cinema screen in a cinema called Cineworld in the UK. It's one of our biggest chains. And we hired the screen out for Box. So just sitting there, back row, watching my film, my fucking ugly face on screen for an hour and 20 minutes. It was a great feeling and also a terrible feeling. So it was rewarding. And I was like, I wanted to do this my whole life. And now I've done it. But at the same time, I was like, I didn't realize I was going bold there. Oh, look at that spot. Look at that little weird hair sticking out like a pube. You see everything. You're just like.
Didn't you say that you actually kind of gagged at some part of that making that movie?
Yeah, when when he's eating the shit.
Yeah.
I was gagging for real for the whole thing because I have an eating thing anyway, where if you eat with your mouth open and you're like.
Oh,
straight away, I want to fucking cut you. I want you dead. And having to eat and imagine that it's shit, which in the film, and then drinking the piss. And at the time, I was suffering with really bad acid reflux as well because I was waiting for my operation. So that was all kicking up, and my brain was going overdrive. So I was there like. Because I knew I had to pretend to be sick or, act sick. And one of my biggest phobias in life is to actually be sick. Thankfully now, because of the operation I've had, I can't throw up. It's just very, very painful for me. But when you're thinking and doing the noise, eventually you get yourself. Yeah. And then you are, and you're like, oh, fuck. So, yeah.
I remember you saying that. Speaking of your operation, I work in GI. So you tried all the medical stuff like Dexilant, Nexium, all the stuff for your reflux. None of that worked for you?
Oh no, I thought I'd just have a really unpleasant operation instead of trying everything first. I don't know what you just said medication wise, but I tried the medication they told me, and some of it worked, some of it didn't, and I didn't want to be on pills my whole life. So they were like, hey, we can just put a loop in your esophagus that will stop the acid going back up. So I was like, great, sign me up. And I don't know what it is in pounds or kilograms, whatever you guys weigh in, but when I went into the operation, I was 13 stone. So just above average weight for someone my height. Within months, I lost 3 stone, and I'm still struggling to put the weight back on, because when I eat now, it just goes straight through me, or it's just fucking awful because it gets stuck where the loop is. And I had a hernia issue, and it just,
but you look good. I'm glad you're doing well, and hopefully the reflux has gotten better.
Well, the reflux is gone, and I don't mind the fact that I still have issues, because it means I still have to go and see some nurses, and
Oh shit! Now.
Oh yeah. I mean, I like women, but in hospital, I will even flirt with the guy nurses. I don't give a fuck.
Where's my jacket?
Give it!
I got a doctor's coat over here and a stethoscope. I'll make your dreams come true.
And a very
loop me
monitor.
Dr. Rowland, Dr. Bursey.
That's right. That's the Bursey.
Matt, you said you got a lot of writing done in hospital, right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember you were talking to me while you were in hospital, and you were saying you still work pretty much the same there, right? Like,
well, I was realizing the money wasn't really coming in. I was still getting my Amazon sales, but I was like, fuck me, Etsy's dead. So I wrote Dissing Disney when I was in hospital. And within 4 hours of releasing it to Etsy, knowing I hadn't written it at that point, I thought, I've just bought myself 2 weeks off work. So I could just, so yeah, I was still working in between doing the drugs and napping. But, you got it. What people don't understand about writing is, to me, it's therapy. It's therapeutic. So it's not bad that I'm writing constantly. I enjoy it. Mostly.
Writing your mermaid book coming out. I already ordered that. I can't wait for that one.
I've got that right down there. Just saying, it's shit.
No, it's not. I'm sure it's excellent. Who has the next question?
I have one. It's from Steven Kazanowski, but I don't know if you're ready for it. It might be too soon. It's a joke, and it might be too soon for this joke, Matt. I don't know if you're ready for it.
It's Steven, so it won't be a joke.
It's what do you get when you cross an elephant and a rhino? And I'm guessing, I think I've heard this one before, because the fucking answer's not on here, so I think it's elephino.
Elephino.
Right? Is that anybody else know?
That sounds good to me.
Sounds like it would be the answer, right?
Sounds great.
He sell books?
How the fuck's he gonna ask the question and not tell us the fucking answer? So I'm thinking that was I remember that one. Elephino. That makes sense, right?
Aaron gave the question to somebody who knows the answer, because I would have just asked the question and that would have been it.
Yeah.
So.
It was a social experiment. I wanted to see how Carver would approach it. He did exactly what I figured.
He passed.
Oh yeah, you give him a chance to answer it.
I'm disappointed in Stephen. Stephen could have done better. The guy's got an imagination on him, and if that's the best he can do, why are people buying my books instead of Stephen's books?
We have two last questions. These are a bunch of them from Ryder Kinley, and I think you've answered for the majority of them. Talking about how you write so quickly, and that, like you said earlier, that you wrote that 150-page novella in a couple of days. She does want to know, how long did it take you to become a full-time author? Like when Sick Bastards came out, was it that day, or when you first started getting them sales, where you're like, you know what, that's it? Or
I could have. I stopped. I carried on working because I didn't want to make any rash decisions. And I was talking to Ian Rob Wright at a convention, and he said, no, man, once your sales are up there and you're doing it monthly, then you're pretty much safe to quit your job, because they will drop down, but they won't stop. And he's right. Some months are worse than other months. And some months are really, really good. So it does go like that. But yeah, I probably left it. So Sick Bastards came out, and I probably left it about 4 or 5 months after that before I actually quit, just to make sure I was doing the right thing. Because the last thing I wanted to do was quit my job and then realize I'm writing the shit.
Yeah. All right. And the last question we have, so the best for last. Actually, it's 2 questions from Rain Havoc.
Fucking 2 questions. I'll answer 1.
Okay. I'll ask you the best one then.
Yeah.
Go for both.
Okay.
Start with the shit
Wants
one.
to know, Matt, is there a good reason I found you in my panty drawer again?
Yes, I'm a trans.
She wants to know, if you could be a sex toy, what would you choose, and why would you choose to be Aaron's butt plug?
Actually, I would choose to be Roland's fleshlight because I want to be filled with his dump of cum.
Very, very, very astute answer.
I wouldn't be Aaron's butt plug because I just look at him and I just think it's going to be well whiffy. You know, I don't know whether the guy's going to be a proper wiper or not. I think there's going to be dingleberries for sure. But as for being in her panty drawers, well, for one, I kind of like trying them on, but I was also hoping she might have put some dirty ones in there as well, so I could smell the sickly, sticky gusset and lick out the moistness. You know, just wring it out over my tongue.
That's what you call that's rain. That's rain, right? Make it rain right there.
Make it rain.
Why is it yellow? Why is it yellow?
So bitter.
Oh my god.
Tastes like AIDS. No.
All right. Well, that's that. You got a lot of. Thanks for answering all the listener questions and all of our other stupid fucking questions that we had.
They were pretty fucking stupid. I wasted an evening for this. I was with my mum. I was having a lovely evening.
On her birthday.
But we usually wrap up, but with 2 quick things. One of them would be, we typically spotlight an author. Is there anybody that you think people should read more of that, you know, and it doesn't necessarily, it can be horror, but I know you said you don't read a lot of horror, so if you want to spotlight somebody else, you could do that too.
You know, the only author I'm really reading at the moment has already got a big following. But the guy that I'm really into is Carlton Mellick.
Oh, yeah.
Just because he's fucking weird. He's like Roald Dahl on drugs, you know. So he's really the only guy I'm reading at the moment.
That's a good pick.
Bumblebee.
He's a good pick, but I was trying to think of like someone that's not as well known as him. So I'm not trying to put people off reading Carlton, obviously, because you should. But I was like, is there someone that's new out that's not on this fucking podcast? And I was like, I haven't read anyone, you know, because I say I don't really read horror that much. But, you know, if you haven't read my friend's book, J.R. Park, and if you like horror, he's done a book called Upon Waking, which is really good. And he also did another one called Punch, which is another fantastic book, funny enough, about a guy that's perceived to be a kiddie fiddler. Both of those are well worth a look as well. So, yeah, I'd say Carlton and J.R. Park.
Nice.
Awesome. And then can you just recognize one reader? We usually at least recognize one reader on the show.
What, name them?
Yeah, and just thank them, or what have they done for you?
They've done fuck all, mate. My readers don't do anything for me. It's embarrassing. You got Jill Rogers. She set up the fucking fucked up world of Matt Shaw fan page thing. So she set that up, and she's also made Mary Kiefel sorry, my phone went. She made Mary Kiefel an admin on the page, and Mary Kiefel is always on like books of horror and all that lot, shouting out links to my books, and along with Jennifer Brooks. And because I'm going to give you another one, because I'm on a fucking roll now, Steve Chapo, who's always on my Etsy store buying every fucking thing I release. So have a few names.
That's awesome. Yeah, they buy a lot of
Well, you bastard.
Well, I want
like,
it to be nice and spirit of the moment and see you sweat a little bit, you know? Since you've been shitting on me all night, you know?
Well, you deserved it. You liked it.
Yeah, I do like the dingleberries, that's right. But, all right, very last thing. When it's all said and done and your career's winding down, what do you think, like, what's it going to take for you to feel like perfect satisfaction, like, okay, I achieved what I set out to do? And I think it's more of a storytelling question for you, maybe, because you said, you know, not so much books was your initial desire, right? But it could be anything. What's it going to take?
Well, I have another exclusive. I'm actually starting to look at other jobs now because I feel like I've done writing, you know? So I don't know what the future holds for me. I already feel like I've told most stories that I want to tell. And with films, I'm moving into the industry, which is just really hard to get into. So like I said, next year, that's it. After that, I will move on to something else if it hasn't taken off by then. So yeah, I really don't know how to answer that one. But I think that it's getting to a point now where I want a new career away from all of this. So there's an exclusive.
Wow. So what it takes for you to achieve that goal, you might not have even discovered it yet, kind of, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I've got no idea. You know, one day I'll just wake up and go, you know what, I think I'm done. And then I will literally just stop. I've got no firm ideas of what it's going to take for me to get to that point. It'll just be something that just happens. But it is something that I am thinking hard about at the moment.
It's sad. It's like when a clown dies, you know? It's a sad thing.
There's nothing sad about a clown dying. Oh, wait a minute, you son of a bitch.
No, but thank you so much, Matt. Seriously, it's a huge.
Thanks for having me on it. It'll be a laugh. It'll be a laugh. It was a laugh.
Yeah,
I write books.
It was really an honor, though, and you know, we appreciate you taking your time with us. And you know, again, be sure to check out you know, Matt's. Can you plug your stuff real quick, like your Etsy store and that stuff real quick?
Yeah. Buy my stuff on Etsy. Sign up to my Patreon page. Fucking come to a convention and give me a blowjob. I mean, Jesus. You know, if you want to look at my work, have a look at my work. I'll be very grateful. If you don't, I'm not going to force you.
All right. But we do have some paperback copies of Survivor's Guilt, baby, for whoever wants that.
Oh, fuck yeah. You've got to buy that. You've got to buy that, because otherwise I'll never hear the end of it from Aaron. I want to sell all of the 100 that we're doing. It's literally 100 copies, then it's fucking off. So you might as well buy a copy and put it on eBay in a few months.
Hey, before we sign off, I just wanted to say one thing to Matt. When you asked me to be part of the Battered and Broken Bodies, I just wanted to say thank you for that. That was an amazing experience. And for me,
I didn't ask Daniel or Carver.
Well, they already know it's
Yeah, I was about to say, he didn't fucking ask me, so.
Wait. It's already done. It's already out. But I just want to thank you personally, because you've been an inspiration since us for forever. So I just want to say thank you for that. And I hope nothing but the best for you, whatever route you decide to go, that it makes you happy and fulfilled. So that's just
well, thank you. And you have to thank Wrath for your invitation, because I think you're a great guy. You know, I asked to have breakfast with you that time.
Yes.
And it was also Wrath singing your praises at KillerCon back when we met, when I was like, here's a writer to watch.
Oh, thanks. I've already thanked Wrath, and he's amazing. So.
But he's still going to punch the shit out of you.
Matt, thank you, man, for being here. I hate that you can't see my face and everything right now. It's just weird, but
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you, man, for being here, and we've learned a lot from you, man, and you're an inspiration, and you're awesome, man. Thanks for being here and sharing stories and shit with us.
Oh, thanks for the invite. And Dan, I believe you're up for a Splatterpunk Award.
Yeah, I think we might be going against each other for one of them, right? Are you in novel or novella?
I think I'm just in. Oh fuck! I might be in 2 actually.
Yeah, I
I'm
have
in
a novel and a novella.
anthology. Are you in novella or novel?
Both.
Ooh, get
Yeah,
you,
I know.
Mr. Fancy Pants.
Listen, I know.
Well, I just want to say, good luck. Neither of us will win because it doesn't work like that. But hey, at least we were nominated.
Yeah, listen, I could put that on all my books from now on, so I'm happy about it.
So you're 2-time.
Yes.
You're Aaron's 3-time now? 4-time.
3 for me. Yeah.
Roland, I know you've been nominated.
No, not for Splatterpunk. I won the American Fiction Award.
Oh, no one gives a fuck about that.
Yeah.
All right, well, no. Thanks for having me, but I am going to fuck off now.
All right, man.
Yeah, fuck me. Hey, I'm a 2-time nominee. Yeah.
Oh yes, Carver. He sure is.
Oh, you nominated.
And Carver Pike, we can't forget about him.
Shit on Carver Day again, huh?
Yeah.
Were you like the special needs kid at the back of the class that got a badge just for showing up?
Apparently, just because my fucking video's not showing. Fuck this shit. I'm never turning my camera off again. Fuck all you.
All right.
Come back. I'm gonna put my camera on pause so Carver can come back real quick.
I don't know if that'll work, but plus, fuck Carver. But again, I'm Aron Beauregard. For Daniel Volpe, Roland Bursey Jr., and Carver Pike, we are the Written and Read podcasts. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube if you can. And until next time, keep it 100% horror.